Now, question is, what is this uniform civil code? What is civil code? How we can define civil code, and how is it different from the criminal code? Right now, if you look at the uniform civil code, the debate is very much, colonial, rooted in British India. The British government codified the criminal activity. Right? What are the crimes and what are the punishment? Right? So British government codified criminal activities. But on the other hand, the social practices like marriage, divorce, succession, adoption, inheritance, it left to the community. Right? It did not codify it. These all, basically activities. And the Hindu, practices was actually monitored by the Brahmins, the Pandit, and the Muslim practices, Islamic practices were actually monitored by the Qazi, right? The Maulana. Right? So Hindu social custom followed Hindu religion, and in case of disputes, Pandit used to, right, resolve the issue. In case of Muslim, the Muslim cleric used to. Now, nothing dictation followed yet, Priyans. In the Constituent Assembly, there was a debate on uniform civil code. Right? Why it was a debate? Look at, Ambedkar and K. Munshi, Alladi Krishna Swami Iyer, they were in favor of uniform civil code. So one thing is clear, that uniform civil code or civil code deals with the civil matters like marriage, divorce, succession, adoption is सबसे related है. Inheritance, maintenance, right? So uniform civil code related to this all practices. Now, question is uniform, right? Uniform means we have to make similar, practices among the all community. In the Constituent Assembly, if you look at K. Munshi, Alladi Krishna Swami Iyer, and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was in favor of the uniform civil code. Right? In fact, Dr. Ambedkar, with the help of B.N. Rao, they, actually brought Hindu code bill. Hindu code bill. I think मैंने बात किया हुआ हिंदू कोड बिल के ऊपर. Right? Hindu code bill was intended to, make the practices very much similar in when it comes to the marriage, adoption, succession, inheritance, and others. Okay? It tried to make the practices very much uniform in Hindu society, right? Because if you look at, there was a polygamy, right? There was a polygamy, and even in adoption there was a different role. For succession there was a different role, right? Now, if you see, Hindu code bill was not been passed. Nehru was not in favor of the bringing Hindu code bill in the parliament. Why? Because Nehru thought that, if we bring Hindu code bill, now the parliamentarian will resist. The parliamentarian will resist, right? And that's why he did not bring the Hindu code bill in the parliament, and Nehru, Ambedkar resigned from the ministry. Right? Now, later on, if you look at this code bill has been actually fragmented in different parts, and it was passed in 1956. Hindu Marriage Act, right? Hindu Adoption Act, Hindu Succession Act, right? And the parliament, the government left the other practices on their own, right? Then if you look at a Special Marriage Act was also passed in order to talk about how marriage will be regulated when the two interfaith community will marriage. Right? Now, in 1985 there was an incident. right? And the incident was Sahbanu versus Muhammad Ahmad Khan. So the Sahbanu, very popular case is Sahbanu case. Sahbanu was a wife of a lawyer, Ahmad Khan in Madhya Pradesh. उन्होंने क्या किया? ट्रिपल तलाक दे दिया, right? Now what happened? Sahbanu claimed for maintenance in the lower court, right? The lower court said, held that the Ahmad Khan has to pay the maintenance, right? They brought equality between among the community in terms of maintenance, right? That's called alimony. Now what happened? If you look at Muslim had cultural autonomy in terms of marriage, right? Their marriage is still not regulated in India. So what happened? And what happened when the lower court gave judgment in favor of Sahbano? The Muhammad Ahmad Khan, he was himself a lawyer, he moved to the High Court. High Court actually penalized more amount of money on Ahmad Khan, right, to pay the amount to the Sahbano as a maintenance. Now what happened? He moved to the Supreme Court against the judgment given by the High Court. Now look at it, took time, right? It takes time from lower court to the High Court to the Supreme Court. Meanwhile, this this judgment has become very much popular, right? The people have debated whether triple talaq is good or not good, whether a woman should get maintenance or not, right? Even if she's a Muslim woman. So what happened? The Supreme Court has given judgment in favor of Sahbano and imposed more amount of money, right, on Ahmad Khan to pay as a maintenance, right? Now it had become a very much debatable issue. Now in this case, Supreme Court held that the Article 44 of the Indian Constitution has become a dead letter. In this judgment, Supreme Court has held that Article 44 of the Indian Constitution has remained a dead letter, right? There is no evidence or official activity for framing a common uniform civil code. Got the idea? Now look at the Muslim personal law rejected this judgment of the Supreme Court and Muslim mobilized. Now what happened? The government, that time government was headed by Rajiv Gandhi. The Rajiv Gandhi government passed a law that is called Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Divorce Act in 1986. And that law terminated the Supreme Court judgment. Right? It means the cultural autonomy to the Muslim has been restored. Right? Anyway, now this has become a political issue. Now the BJP started calling. Now BJP has established itself in 1980. Early it was a Jansangh party. So BJP called Congress party as a pseudo-secular party, right? And BJP brought this issue, Uniform Civil Code, as their political agenda, right? And then and thereafter, if you look at in BJP manifesto, whether it is a state manifesto or whether it is a central government manifesto, they brings Uniform Civil Code as one of the objective, along with the other objective. अगर आप देखेंगे कि 1980 के बाद से बीजेपी के मैनिफेस्टो में दो तीन चीजें बातें रही है, right? One is abolition of Article 370, another is building of Ram Temple, right? And third is the Uniform Civil Code. Okay? Now it has already done to work, right? Now third is yet to be done. However, some state has already made already Uniform Civil Code. Making sense? Right? Now, the Supreme Court in Sarla Mudgal case also talked about the Uniform Civil Code, why the state is not implementing Uniform Civil Code. And Apart from this argument, the Supreme Court judgment, there can be debate whether uniform civil code is desirable or not desirable. There is an argument in favor of or against of. Now, in favor of uniform civil code, now if you look at, there are argument that uniform civil code will bring equality. It will bring equality. It will promote gender justice, right? Okay? It will promote national integration. It will promote secularism because it will treat India as a state, will treat every religion as a equal, right? It will bring harmony and symmetry in Indian polity, right? This is the argument in favor of uniform civil code. Now, on the other hand, there are argument against the uniform civil code, right? What are the major argument? The major argument is that uniform civil code will damage the local culture and cultural autonomy of a particular community, right? Okay? Now, if you look at, India is a multicultural society, right? In India, there are multi-faith, multi-linguistic, multi-religious, multiple practices is there, right? How can you bring uniformity, right? It will actually damage the culture or cultural autonomy. Making sense, right? Now, if you look at the basically the Law Commission recommendation, the 21st Law Commission report said UCC is neither necessary nor desirable in India. In fact, in the Supreme Court in one judgment said, you know, the UCC cannot be implemented in one go. It will be the counterproductive. It will be the counterproductive if it goes right for implementation in one go. Right now, 21st Law Commission in its report said that UCC is neither necessary nor desirable in India. However, the 22nd Law Commission has invited several communities, scholars, activity, civil society groups to give their recommendation, to give their view whether uniform civil code should be implemented. If it is implemented, in what way it can be implemented. Now, as per the central law, there is no any law in order to implement uniform civil code. At the state level, Goa has uniform civil code, and Uttarakhand has passed a uniform civil code, but it excluded tribals, right, from bringing in uniform civil code. Now, if you look at how many tribals are in India, कितने tribals है total? Number of tribal community? Yeah, 700. नहीं पढ़ा है मैंने आप लोग को? पढ़ा है? Now look at, every tribal community have their own practice of marriage, right? And one scholar, he was a vice chancellor of National Law University. He said India should not look for the uniform civil code. It should look for the just civil code, right? There is no need to basically bring uniformity in the practices, right? Rather, intention should be to minimize or eliminate the gender injustice. Because you know that every culture subordinates women. The most of culture, right? I can't talk about the matriarchy where it prevails, but most of the culture subordinates women. So that is basically the judgment given by the argument given by one scholar. Another scholars argue that, right, UCC is a headless quest in Indian politics, right? It is a headless quest. Now, UCC has become a political agenda to target the minority. The UCC has become a political tool to target minority. Now, if you look at when the Law Commission has invited, yeah, different community, to send their recommendation. More than 100 community, the tribal community has sent recommendation to the president, right? They met the president, right? And they said that, they don't require the uniform civil code, right? However, now we don't have uniform civil code at central level, but yes, debate is going on. We may have, right? मैंने क्या कहा कि बीजेपी has already achieved its two objective, major objective. Otherwise development, सबका साथ सबका विकास, वो चलता रहेगा, right? The two major objective BJP had, and since 1950, since the Johnson, right? ये जो पहला वाला abolition of article 370, ये दूसरा जो बना है ऑब्जेक्टिव, abolition building of Ram temple, that has been added later, right? I think that was the third objective. Second objective was basically UCC, yeah, to bring UCC. Now, do you know the world largest family that exists in India? Have I ever mentioned about that family?
Northeast.
Northeast, yeah. Mizoram. One man has 39
14.
women.
14.
39. Data मुझे याद. 39 around wife and more than 100 children. Approximately. Right? Now, very interesting. Have I ever told you that one contender in 1950 against Nehru was Tripatri Maharaj. Tripatri Maharaj was a candidate of राम राज्य परिषद. राम राज्य परिषद उस समय पे 3 राइट विंग पार्टी हुआ करती थी. राम राज्य परिषद, Hindu Mahasabha also contested the election, and Jansa. Tripatri Maharaj challenged Nehru that you don't know anything about marriage, and it is very wrong to intervene in the Hindu religion in terms of regulating marriage. You know that article in 1956 Hindu Marriage Act was passed, right? So there was a series of challenge from the community to the leader. You cannot establish uniform civil code. Got the idea? However, if you look at in the future, we may see that uniform civil code may be passed. It can be. The POCSO Act said that there shall not be sexual harassment of child, right? But what if कि मान लो कि 17 साल का बच्चा लड़का है और 17 साल की लड़की है, right? और about 18 and they elope और marriage कर लेते हैं. Now will they be punished under the POCSO Act? No, let me tell you, in many cases they are punished. In many cases, High Court said no, they can't be punished. So it depends on the judge, Supreme Court, whether they will punish it or whether they will free the person, right? Otherwise, penalizing them would be more dangerous sometime. Let me tell you one example of Bengal. The girl was 17 and boys was around 22. They married, right? They eloped and married. अब हुआ क्या कि लड़की के घर वाले ने पुलिस में ये लगवा दिया, केस करवा, एफआईआर करवा दी. एंड व्हाट इज अ सिंपल एफआईआर इन दैट? कि एब्डक्शन हुआ है, right? What police did? Police captured the boy and put behind the bar, right? The court has actually given sentenced, punished the person. Now this woman fought not against the family but also against the state to get her husband released. Now let me tell you, अब यहाँ पर क्या है, हमारा काम क्या था, लॉ का काम क्या था, प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करना. So what is the purpose of the law? The purpose of the law is actually to ensure justice. But in this case, do you feel justice is done? अगर मान लो कि लड़की वाले हैं, right? और लड़की वालों ने शादी करा दी 17 साल में. Now in that case, will the court punish the person, the husband? क्या है, इफ यू लुक एट अ ट्राइबल सोसाइटी, तो ये यूटोपिया में हम लोग हमेशा घूमते हैं कि भाई राइट, अभी एक मैरिज बिल आया था और उसमें कहा गया कि भाई मैरिज बिल को क्या करें, मैरिज एज को क्या करें हम 20 इयर्स तक, 21 इयर्स तक बढ़ा दें गर्ल्स के लिए. Now let me tell you, it will penalize the community, many community in India. Still marriage, if you look at marriage in villages, in many community, is done before 18, before 17, right? And penalizing them is not a just idea, right? What is the another way to do justice? You know, raise awareness, right? For their health, for the education, for the opportunity, right? If girls are married early, then there'll be adverse impact on health, educational opportunity, right? अगर करती है कोई कोर्ट, वही तो मैं बोला कि अगर कोई कोर्ट करती है, that is not a justice, right? Justice is not, justice not should not basically impact adversely to any person.
तो बट लॉ तो यही कहता है ना सर, ऐसे केस में कोर्ट कर क्या सकता है?
एग्जैक्टली, लॉ तो ये कहता है, बट ये लॉ को अलग अलग तरीके से कोर्ट ने रीइंटरप्रेट भी तो किया है प्रियांश. आई गिवन यू एग्जांपल, द महाराष्ट्र हाई कोर्ट released the both person, both girls and boys, right? And set them free from the POCSO Act. हाँ हाँ, नहीं नाबालिग है तो भी, अगर मान लो 17 के एज में है या अबाउट टू 18 है और लड़का और लड़की दोनों इलोप हो गए, ना उस केस में will it be good to punish them, or will it be good to set them free to go for their married life? Now Supreme Court, High Court has given judgment in favor of the couple. Sometimes the Supreme Court has High Court has given judgment against of the couple. Sometimes it had been given, right? Now what is correct, it is a issue of contention, right? इसको वही तो मैं कभी मतलब कभी भी आप देखेंगे कि मैं एग्जैक्टली हाँ या ना नहीं कहता हूँ, ग्रे एरिया में रहता हूँ, राइट? कि आप भी ग्रे एरिया में रहो. Whenever you write now, also don't take the position sometimes diplomatically खेलना बहुत जरूरी होता है. Be in gray area rather than taking a position, right? Cite the example, basically cite the example, court judgment. See, as I told you that how many tribals we have? 701. How many SC we have? 1200. How many language we speak? 1600. Right? Look at how many OBCs caste are there? Around 5000. Look at the cultural diversity in India we have. Right? Now, law is the purpose of the law is not to punish the person. The purpose
सर
of the law is to reform, bring reform in the society. So law is not only to bring reform in the society, there are another way. There are another way. For example, raising the, awareness. Raising the awareness. There are tribals called PVT, primitive vulnerable tribal groups. There are 76 private tribal groups. They comes under the primitive vulnerable tribal groups. Right? Okay? Now they are living in a very much primitive, style. They are doing hunting and gathering, right? Their actual lifestyle is as similar as there's a low level of literacy, right? They do follow the practice they inherit from their tradition, right? And if not in such situation, if we bring certain law like the Uniform Civil Law and will implement this, now let me tell you, there are approximately 71 or 76 PBTG has been recognized. Now, do you want to punish the groups? No, the intention is not. The bringing uniform law is not intention to punish any community. The the intention to bring uniform civil code is to make India more secular, right? To eliminate gender justice. Got the idea? Right? So it will take time. Now we are talking about Viksit Bharat, Viksit Bharat, Viksit Bharat, right? Now Viksit Bharat Shiksha Bill is coming up. मैंने कहा ना कि जब मैं कॉलेज में था ना, राइट, एनडीए 1 के टाइम पे, तब हम लोग को बताया जाता था कि 2020 में भारत विकसित हो जाएगा, राइट? ठीक है, लेट मी टेल यू, 80 crore people are dependent on the food given by the government. Look at inequality, right? Have you seen the the debt that has increased from 2010 to now? The debt was 32, approximately 40 crore. Now it is a 140 crore. Right? Look at the wealth that has increased of Adani and Ambani. Right? When I was in college, I don't know, I did not know Adani. Ambani was well known. कर लो दुनिया मुट्ठी में, उस समय आया था, राइट? 500 में मोबाइल दे रहे थे, लोगों ने मोबाइल ले लेकर के बिल बना दिया 50 हजार रुपए. Perhaps you would be small, right? May not have been born. That was the era, right? उस समय हमें बताया था कि 2020 में डेवलप हो जाएगा. Let me tell you, if you see the India's per GDP, it is a fourth in the world, right? Fourth or fifth. But if you talk about per capita GDP, my dear, it is 124th rank, right? Looking at the huge diversity in terms of culture and economic inequality, do you think that we need to frame a uniform civil law? Yeah, we should make a law so that we can eliminate basically what? Discrimination. That is the purpose of the secularism. I taught you secularism now. The principal distance. The state has to intervene in order to eliminate intra-community and inter-community domination. इंट्रा-कम्युनिटी मतलब कम्युनिटी के अंदर ही जो प्रॉब्लम है उसको खत्म करना है, और इंटर कम्युनिटी मींस दो कम्युनिटी के बीच में जो प्रॉब्लम है उसको खत्म करना है. दैट इज द पर्पस ऑफ इंडियन सेक्युलरिज्म. नाउ इवन इफ यू लुक एट ट्रिपल तलाक, राइट, act is a one steps towards eliminating discrimination against women. What the idea? Yeah, let me yeah, it's some Patil versus, let me tell you the judgment name, some Patil versus, see the judgment name. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yes. Bansilal Patil versus Union of India case. State of Andhra, yes. Actually, I'm missing the name. कहीं पर आपके नोट्स में होगा. Yeah, Pannalal Bansilal Patil versus State of Andhra Pradesh, 1996. Right? The Supreme Court, the court held that, that UCC may be desirable for all persons in India, but its enactment in one go may be counterproductive, right, to the unity of India. I know, yeah. Slowly it can be, right? It can be introduced in one community, or certain community may be eliminated. For example, certain tribal community may be eliminated as of now, but later on they may be incorporated. Exactly. Now, why do we want to bring uniformity? Homogeneity is not good. Everyone, अब देखो यहाँ पर सबने अपने अलग अलग कपड़े पहने हैं, सबको एक ही ड्रेस में बुलाता तो क्या अच्छा लगता? नहीं लगता है भाई. Consider one nation and one food. If I apply one nation and one food, would you like to eat similar food? No. India is very culturally diverse, right? The people who eat sambar and idli will never eat the something, the Punjabi food, right? So this is bringing uniformity, bringing basically homogeneity, making assimilation. Assimilation is not a good idea. What is a good idea? The recognition, right? You must, and we must recognize the peculiarity, the sui generousness of the each community, right? Each community is very much very peculiar, very special. They have their cultural heritage. Yes, if there is an issue related to gender issue, that must be implemented. That must be eliminated. Got the idea? It's not desirable. Got the idea? तो जो भी आपको देना है, you take the basically help of the Supreme Court judgment, right? Law Commission report. Fine. Now it's time to dictate. Yeah, go ahead. लिखिए Uniform Civil Code. Uniform Civil Code deals with social practices. Uniform Civil Code deals with social practices like marriage. Uniform Civil Code deals with social practices like marriage, divorce, adoption, succession, inheritance. Uniform Civil Code deals with social practices like marriage, divorce, adoption, succession, inheritance, and maintenance. And maintenance. The British government, the British government codified the criminal activities. The British government codified criminal activities but left social practices. But left social practices on the community. On the community. The Hindu community followed Hindu social custom. Hindu community followed Hindu social customs, and Muslim followed their personal law. And Muslim followed their personal law. In case of conflict, in case of conflict, Pandit for Hindu. In case of conflict, Pandit for Hindus and Maulvi for Muslim used to resolve the conflict. In the Constituent Assembly, the UCC was debated. In the Constituent Assembly, the UCC was debated K.M. Munshi, K.M. Munshi, Alladi Krishna Swami Iyer, K.M. Munshi, Alladi Krishna Swami Iyer, and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was in favor of UCC. K.M. Munshi, Alladi Krishna Swami Iyer, and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was in favor of UCC. However, many members opposed it. However, many members opposed it and described it the rule of majority over the minority. And described it the rule of majority over the minority. अब सवाल ये है कि ये जिस यूनिफॉर्मिटी की आप बात कर रहे हैं वो यूनिफॉर्मिटी आएगा कहां से, वो किसकी यूनिफॉर्मिटी होगी? क्या डोमिनेंट कम्युनिटी की यूनिफॉर्म प्रैक्टिस विल बी द applicable to all, or can we bring the practice from the community who are on the margin? Now let me tell you, the any practice that is from the marginal community does not become a dominant. Basically, often what happens, the dominant community practices can be called acceptable to the all, or can be called the general, that intended to be brought as a uniform. Now change the paragraph and write, okay, consequently, change the point, consequently article 44 had been inserted. Consequently, article 44 had been inserted in the DPSP to bring uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. Article 44 inserted in the DPSP to bring UCC throughout the territory of India. Next point you write, Dr. Ambedkar framed Hindu Code Bill to bring uniformity in civil laws. Dr. Ambedkar framed Hindu Code Bill to bring uniformity in civil laws within Hindu community. Within Hindu community. Nehru rejected it. Nehru rejected it to pass. Nehru rejected it to pass, and Ambedkar resigned from the government. And Ambedkar resigned from the government. Ambedkar resigned from the government. Now, next point you write, in 1956, आपको पता है जब हिंदू मैरिज बिल आया था तो the first president of India, he denied to sign on it, Hindu marriage bill. Then what happened? Nehru threatened to quit the government. बोला कि लो सरकार चलाओ, मैं नहीं जा रहा. Nehru threatened to quit the government, and then basically Dr. Rajendra Prasad had signed on Hindu marriage bill. Look at, so it is not dominant idea in the community. Even the leaders believed that the marriage, the social practices, right, is good as it is, right? They did not want change. Making sense? In 1956, the parliament passed. In 1956, the parliament passed. 1956 or 55? 56, I think. In 1956, the parliament passed Hindu marriage bill. Hindu marriage bill. 55 now. Has it been passed in 55 or it has been introduced in 55? Let's check it. जब हमने एक्ट पढ़ा है तो 56 पढ़ा है, क्यों मुझे दिमाग में आ रहा? Look at the act, Hindu Marriage Act. Was it 55 or 56? 55? Let's make it 55. Yeah. In 56 के जगह 55 लगा दीजिए. In 55, the government passed Hindu Marriage Act, Hindu Succession Act, Hindu Succession Act. 1956, Succession 1956 है. अच्छा इसीलिए मेरे लिए अच्छा एक ही मतलब आसपास में हुआ. एनीवे 9 कोई बात नहीं, कोई एज टाइम नहीं पूछ रहा है, राइट? क्या लिखा? इन 1956 और 55 द गवर्नमेंट पास्ड हिंदू मैरिज एक्ट, कॉमा हिंदू सक्सेशन एक्ट, हिंदू एडॉप्शन एक्ट, हिंदू एडॉप्शन एक्ट. But the government did not touch other community. But the government did not touch the other community. The government did not touch in other community. Now we have to jump. Right. In 1985, the Supreme Court in Shahbanu versus Muhammad Ahmed Khan in 1985, the Supreme Court in Shahbanu versus Muhammad Ahmed Khan held that Muslim women have also right to maintenance from their husband. Supreme Court in Shahbanu versus Muhammad Ahmed Khan held that Muslim women have also right to maintenance from their husband. The court observed that the court observed that the court observed that Article 44 of the Indian Constitution the court observed that Article 44 of the Indian Constitution has remained a dead letter. Court observed that Article 44 of the Indian Constitution has become a dead letter. Has become a dead letter. Next point you write. If the parliament passed the parliament passed the parliament passed the Muslim woman the Muslim woman protection of rights bracket protection of rights protection of rights on divorce Act in 1986. In 1986, which terminated the Supreme Court judgment, the Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Divorce Act in 1986, which terminated the Supreme Court judgment given in the Savano case. The BJP, next point, the BJP accused Congress for pseudo secular. The BJP accused Congress for pseudo secular and a party of appeasement. And a party of appeasement. It incorporated UCC in their election manifesto. It incorporated UCC in their election manifesto. ठीक है ना इस टाइम पे एक चीज और हुआ घटना राइट ये तो करते रहेंगे हम लोग थोड़ा सा लार्जर घटना की बात मैं कर रहा हूँ आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द लार्जर इंसिडेंट दैट टेक प्लेस नाउ इफ यू लुक एट सुप्रीम कोर्ट held the decision in favor of Sabano. Now what parliament did? Parliament terminated the Supreme Court judgment. Right? Why? Because that time Congress party headed by Rajiv Gandhi held that they will lose the Muslim vote. Muslim have been traditional voter of the Congress party, right? और उनको लगा कि हमारा जो ट्रेडिशनल वोटर है वो हमसे दूर भाग जाएगा. Once the parliament passed this law which terminated the Supreme Court judgment, now if you look at the people have started talking about what does this Rajiv Gandhi government has done. It is not good, right? How can you appeasing, right? How can you continue with the gender injustice? ठीक है अब उनको लगा कि अब हिंदू कम्युनिटी जो है वो हमसे नाराज हो गई. Rajiv Gandhi opened the lock of Ram Temple in the same year, in the 1986, in Ayodhya. Right? अब क्या है बीजेपी को? BJP have taken a promise, right? Or basically their concern, let's go and open the Ram Temple. Go for, right? So look at this Ram Temple issues. Ram Temple issues had been initiated by Rajiv Gandhi. लोग बीजेपी ने आपने उनको दिया बीजेपी ने उसको अच्छे से बुनाया. That's true, right? BJP started Rath Yatra thereon and then they started mobilizing. If you look at after 1988 to 1990, there have been more than 200 communal violence in Uttar Pradesh alone. Small or big, more than 200, right? And that time, if you look at the slogan, ये तो केवल झांकी है काशी मथुरा, बाकी है तेल लगाओ डाबर का नाम मिटा दो. Look at the slogan. There's a one, right? There's a multiple book. एक publication है Critical Quest. उसकी small writing essay होता है, right? And some Upadhyay had written on secularism, and he actually narrated the entire communal violence that took place during 1980. I love that during those days, right? So look at the larger consequences. The BJP, which has 2 seats in 1984, right, secured 160 around in 1991 election, 1992 election, right, due to this polarization of the masses. अब उनको लगा कि भाई पोलराइजेशन अच्छी बात है, कर रहे, they are still doing. They don't love Hindu. They do you basically they do use Hindu. They don't hate Muslim. Let me tell you, BJP don't hate Muslim, but they project Muslim as an enemy, because when you have enemy, then you have friends. So when Islam is your enemy, then who's your friends? The Hindu. Right? So anyway, so अब लगता है कि मोदी जी बहुत घृणा करते हैं मुस्लिम से, ऐसी बात नहीं. Right? But let me tell you, the patronage of one religion, the patronage of majority over the minority, has led the disastrous consequences over in several part of the world. Have you heard about Radio Rwanda? Anyone who knows about Radio Rwanda episode?
There were two communities,
There were two communities,
sir.
right, in Rwanda, the Hutsi and Tutsi. One was majority and one was minority. The majority community patronized, right? The government patronized the majority community. On media, on several occasions, they actually, targeted the minority initially verbally, right? That time, radio played a vital role in the means of communication, like television we have today, right? And the radio propagated, right? And the hatred, basically. They projected minority as a termite. Now, within a week, there was a violence, and millions of minority people were killed. Now look at Hitler. The Jew were minority. Hitler had no enmity with the basically Jew. Jew were basically targeted because Jew were the soft target. Jew were targeted because they were very soft target. They projected the problem of all problems. They projected as a projected basically the cause of all problems that Germany faced in those days. Hitler killed 2/3 of the entire population of Jews in Germany. 2/3, more than 5 millions. और ऐसा नहीं कि जर्मन मूर्ख थे. It is not, right? The educated, highly trained engineers framed concentration camp, right? If you look at the chemist, the best chemist invented the gas that can be put, right, and will have maximum killing effect, right? The trained nurses killed the babies of the Jews, small baby, right? The best judge or best lawyer basically supported Hitler in the court, and judge had given verdict. The media supported Hitler. It was an ecosystem that Hitler had created. Ecosystem of majority against minority, right? So it becomes dangerous when a government utilizes one majority, right, and use it against the minority. Anyway, कहाँ थे हम लोग? 1986, right? तो मैं आपको कहानी बता रहा था कि हुआ क्या 1990 में. The 3M dominated the 1990s politics. The Mandir, right? The Mandir, that is Mandir Masjid. Then the Mandal, the caste politics, the caste mobilization. And the third is the market. Right? Now look at the anti-liberalization, privatization and globalization occurred in 1990. Right? This 3M dominated 1990, in Indian politics. Yeah. So, इलेक्शन मैनिफेस्टो की बात तक लिख चुके हैं ना, लेकिन in 1995 the Supreme Court in 1995 the Supreme Court in Sarla Mudgal in 1995 the Supreme Court in Sarla Mudgal versus Union of India case Sarla Mudgal versus Union of India case held that the government must take appropriate step. The government must take appropriate step to implement UCC. आपको जो नोट्स मिला है मैरिज की कहानी भी है. लोग क्या करते, धर्मेंद्र ने क्या किया, अभी धर्मेंद्र राइट का डेथ हुआ है, धर्मेंद्र को शादी करनी थी तो ही वॉज ए हिंदू, तो मैरिज तो कर नहीं सकते. हेमा मालिनी वॉज ऑल्सो हिंदू, उन्होंने क्या क्या शादी करने के लिए कन्वर्ट कर लिया मुस्लिम में, उसके बाद शादी कर ली. इज इट नॉट अ बाईपासिंग लॉ, हिंदू मैरिज एक्ट, राइट? What have you written? The Supreme Court in Sarla Mudgal versus Union of India case held that the state must take appropriate action to implement UCC. Okay. The very next year, in 1995 में हो रहा है, right? The very next year, the Supreme Court in Pannalal Bansilal Patil, तुम ऑफलाइन आओ कभी, Priyansh, and then we will sit one-to-one discussion. ठीक है? For an hour, I'm free. Pannalal Bansilal, the Supreme Court in Pannalal Bansilal Patil versus State of Andhra Pradesh. The Supreme Court held that UCC may be desirable. UCC may be desirable for all persons in India. UCC may be desirable for all persons in India, but its enactment in one go may be counterproductive. Its enactment in one go may be counterproductive to the unity of the nation. All right, the 21st Law Commission in its report, the 21st Law Commission in its report said that the UCC is neither necessary nor desirable in India. UCC is neither necessary nor desirable in India. However, the 22nd Law Commission However, the 22nd Law Commission has invited scholars, communities, 22nd Law Commission has invited scholars, communities, civil society groups to give their views to give their views on implementation of the UCC on implementation of the UCC. Right. The next point. Presently, Goa and Uttarakhand has uniform civil code. इतना बहुत है। सी मैंने जो नोट्स दिया है उसमें थोड़ा सा लेंदी है, उसको पढ़िएगा। मैरिज को लेकर के भी है, थोड़ा आर्गुमेंट भी है, थोड़ा आर्गुमेंट अगेंस्ट भी है। राइट। अच्छा, कास्ट पे क्या फर्क पड़ता है, ट्राइबल पे क्या इम्पैक्ट डालता है यूसीसी, वो भी है। राइट। सो दैट यू कैन डेवलप अ आइडिया बेसिकली। राइट, व्हाट यूसीसी इज ऑल अबाउट। बट बेसिकली जो आपको टारगेटेड क्वेश्चंस होते हैं इसी बीच में जो मैंने आपको दिया बताया। राइट। बट नोट्स में थोड़ा सा ज्यादा है, यू रीड इट। So we have done UCC. Tomorrow we'll focus on welfare versus PBS debate. Right. इसको करने के बाद we will move to fundamental duties.
सर ये टेस्ट कब था? टेस्ट
सैटरडे को होना है। मैंने
ओके सर।
60 क्वेश्चन बनाए हैं, मतलब 60 क्वेश्चन को अरेंज किया है, पहले से बने हुए थे। हाँ हाँ, मैं क्यों बनाऊंगा, बोलूंगा कि आज बना है मैंने 60 के 60 क्वेश्चन, नहीं। राइट। मतलब जब से उन्होंने पूछना बंद कर दिया तब से मैंने क्वेश्चन बनाना बंद कर दिया। जो भी क्वेश्चन होंगे ऑफ कोर्स 2 साल पहले बनाया मैंने। राइट। और पीवाईक्यू भी है। यू सी, आपने जो पढ़ा है उससे पीवाईक्यू बन रहा है। इट इज अ टेस्ट ऑफ योर स्टडी। इफ यू आर एबल टू solve PYQ, that means you are going well. Even said, 50% for 50%, 50% marks in prelims and 45 marks in men's can let you enter into the UPSC finalist. आपको लगता है कि 100% सही हो जाना चाहिए? It's not necessary. उतना ही लाने में कितनी हालत खराब हो जाती है। You all are aspirants now. You have to, work hard to become a striver. ठीक है? And then a striver turn into the successful candidate. थोड़ा सा देखो क्या होता है कि हम कॉलेज में जाते हैं तो कोई मतलब 1 साल लग जाए, 2 साल लग जाए, 4 साल के ग्रेजुएशन हो गए। राइट। प्रिपरेशन में टाइम लगता है। राइट। इफ यू आर इन हरी कि भाई बहुत लोग आते हैं, सर 4 महीने में तैयारी करा दीजिए, नहीं होगा भाई। हाँ, इफ यू आर वेल प्रिपेयर्ड बिफोर then it's possible. See, I teach polity in 10 days, the 10 classes. That is called crash course. But if you are not studied, then crash course means I'll crush you if you don't know. Right? आपको पता होना, this is a foundation course. You do every topic in detail. Right? बहुत कुछ याद रहेगा, बहुत कुछ भूल जाओगे, that is natural. Revision is a, key. Take one standard text. राइट। नोट्स जो मैं बता रहा हूं, मैंने बोला हुआ है पहले से कि जो मैं पढ़ा रहा हूं उतना ही आप उसी दिन उतना ही पढ़िए। आप बैराक भी यूज करिए, आप क्या लक्ष्मीकांत भी उतना ही यूज करें। एंड वी विल फोकस ऑन अप्रोक्सीमेटली 90-99% थिंग्स। 90 to 95, 5%, 10% ऐसे आती है मिसलेनियस, वो कोई नहीं बता सकता। ठीक है। सो जस्ट टारगेट इट, टू रीड carefully. ठीक है। Don't be in hurry. Give time to your preparation. Do your day good. एवरी डे शुड बी द गुड, अपने आप फ्यूचर बढ़िया होगा। फ्यूचर हमेशा होता क्या है, वी आर वेरी वेरी यू नो टेंस्ड रिगार्डिंग आवर फ्यूचर, डोंट हैव कंट्रोल ऑन इट, ऑन फ्यूचर वी डोंट हैव कंट्रोल ऑन इट। देखो उसको क्या, बच्ची को क्या हो गया, वो कोलैप्स कर गई दैट डे एंड शी वेंट होम, right? Of course she must be doing recorded class, right? And whatever already passed, you don't have control. Now what is control in your hand? The particular day, read 8 hours approximately, right? 6 आवर भी पढ़ लेते बहुत है, 4 आवर से अगर कम पढ़ते हो तो कुछ भी नहीं है, then I can't say anything, right? But 6 hours to 8 hours you study every day. So his geography is getting over tomorrow. Please ask them to schedule the polity. Yeah, I'll take polity class. उसी schedule में मैं पढ़ाऊंगा संस्कृति, right? So that I can finish. उसके बाद भी जनवरी, मिड ऑफ फरवरी में I'll be able to finish. 2 घंटे पढ़ाने के बाद. We have to talk about federalism. Federalism is very big, right? Very big. Then parliament. Parliament is again is big. Then we have to talk about government. Government means the legislature, the executive, and judiciary. आई विल नॉट टीच यू कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बॉडी में बहुत कुछ मैं पढ़ाऊंगा, जैसे फाइनेंस कमीशन, जब फेडरलिज्म पढ़ाऊंगा तभी फाइनेंस कमीशन, जीएसटी काउंसिल, इंटरेस्टेड काउंसिल, राइट? मेजर इलेक्शन कमीशन आई विल टीच यू, ठीक है? आरपीए आई विल टीच यू, रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ पीपल एक्ट, ठीक है? बट ये जो है नीति आयोग और ये क्या नाम है, नेशनल कमीशन फॉर ह्यूमन राइट, जो भी है, एनएचआरसी, एनसीपीसीआर, यू हैव टू गो बाय योर, दो दो पेज में दिया हुआ है लक्ष्मीकांत में, यू गो ऑन, ठीक है? आई विल स्टॉप हियर टुडे, सी यू टुमारो।